Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Pyre Community RITE Night, which means, of course, some good old-fashioned multiplayer Pyre, featuring first and foremost none other than the members of the RITE Club Discord server, the place for all things multiplayer Pyre. And if you're interested in getting more involved in multiplayer Pyre, then look no further, because you can join said Discord group by clicking on that link right there. But those of you in chat, you are not off the hook. No, because you see the red circle with the white L below chat. You click on that and you'll find all of the various requests that you can make today, including things ranging from selecting players, exiles, masteries, songs, arenas, even Titan Stars are all fair game. So, without further ado, why don't we hop into versus mode here. I'll set us up for our default settings. There we go. I'll hop into Discord. There we are. And I think I am now good to go. How's everybody doing? Lilac, Blue, good to see you both. We will, of course, be looking for a couple of people to get us started off today, so let me know who would like to do so. And as always, we can be looking to field requests from chat as well, although typically I think it's best to establish who is in before we get too far ahead of ourselves when it comes to those requests. Also, for what it's worth, I have over the past couple of weeks been scheming up I don't know what the best way to, what sort of blanket statement to use to describe it, but it's a category of, I guess you'd call it, I guess a category of a combination of exiles, masteries, and talismans requests, sort of like themes for people to follow, except, you know, we've done that kind of thing before where it could be like a totally random theme that has nothing to do with a Pyre itself. It could be like, pick a team based on cats or something like that. It's like, okay, you know, this is very subjective and very arbitrary and doesn't have much of a direct tie into the game itself, so that's kind of just take your guess as to how best to implement that. But in this case, I have taken more of a middle ground between things that are specific, like, I mean, let me just give you an example of one. So, like, a super straightforward one that we have done before is, like, take a team that emphasizes a lot of speed. Okay, we've done that, for sure. But then there are others that are more, a little more unusual than that. And the idea is that there's some specificity there. You know, obviously you're not going to take the slowest characters with a team that is supposed to emphasize speed, but there's also a little bit of flexibility. You know, does that mean you take the fastest possible characters when it comes to the quickness stat, or do you seek out other ways to a little more indirectly increase your speed, or there are other things that make you faster, although they don't actually directly change the number you see next to that quickness stat? So that's a really straightforward one, but there are others that are a little more nuanced or unusual than that. So I have a list of a few of them written out here, and so if we have any interest in building teams around those kinds of concepts, then there's some potential there for us to try something a little bit different. It's not rocket science, but it's a little bit different. But anyways, I digress. Let me know if there is anyone who would like to get us started today, as I don't think we have any volunteers yet at this stage. I think I have, wait, how many of those concepts do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. So, I have an idea as for how we might be able to implement that in an interesting way. But again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. So do we have anyone who would like to play to get us started? Feel like you missed something. I was just saying how basically I came up with, maybe call them archetypes, team archetypes is maybe a better, rather than the more generic theme, which suggests, oh, it could be something completely unrelated to gameplay. But this is 11 gameplay-oriented archetypes that players could use to influence how they structure their team. So I came up with a bunch of those, and some of them are fairly straightforward, maybe things that we have done before, like the example I gave of just create a fast team. Like, that's certainly not anything too crazy, but there are other ones that are a little more unusual than that, or a little more nuanced than that. So I have a list of those that we could draw from for requests if we're looking for a slightly different type of request, one that just sort of is a little bit of a middle ground between having players take their preferred setups versus having players have things specifically lined up for them with particular characters and masteries and talismans, all that, because the idea is sort of that there's a bit of flexibility there with those archetypes, even if you are, given some direction you're supposed to go in. There's some room for personal preference and interpretation and all that stuff. And I have an idea or two as to how we could implement that in a kind of interesting way, or at least what I hope might be an interesting way. Don't say that. But yeah, if you would like to get in, Lilac, I think you are first in the queue at the moment. Still looking for some people to get us started here, so if you are ready, I can send you an invite. Let me know if anyone else is interested, as we do still have room for a second person, still looking to fill that spot. Oh, well, but not yet. Okay, gotcha. Well, at the moment, we don't have anyone. So, if now does work, it would be a good time, I suppose, from that standpoint. If not, then let me know who else might be interested. I mean, as always, I can potentially jump in if we have a shortage of people. But even then... Okay, iRotor's available. Let me get an invite for iRotor at the very least, then. And Lilac, if you are available right off the bat, we could have you go against iRotor. If not, have some stuff you need to do before. So maybe like in a few matches you might be available. Okay, so in that case, if there is anyone else who is interested and available, let me know. We can certainly get you in to play off against iRotor. Otherwise, as I said, if people generally just need a little bit more time, then I could hop in for a little bit, and as soon as you're ready,
Hello.
Lilac, I can pass the torch. How's it going, iRotor? How are you?
A bit tired, but I'm fine.
Hello.
Yesterday has been a long day. Hello.
Hey, Lilac.
Okay, so I think that I am able to play for like a couple of matches.
Okay. Alright, then.
But for the most part, I've been looking forward to just making requests,
Okay.
causing chaos.
Alright, well. Should, I think, have both of you in at this stage.
I think you have, yep, you have me in.
Are you in as well, iRotor? I know I said you'd be
I'm
invited.
also in.
Okay, perfect. which teams would you guys like to be? Let me give controls.
Fair one.
Lilac.
I will be dissidents.
Dissidents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it really wants. Okay.
Yeah, that's-
you guys do it.
button toss?
I tried to do it myself, but I'm just messing with you guys. Set whatever team
Yeah.
you would like. My bad. Okay.
I am mouse keyboard.
Wait, Iroder is mouse keyboard?
No. Have you plugged your controller in? If you're on
Ah.
controller.
I have not. I remembered to unplug my controller this time, and it doesn't seem like Steam
Yeah,
Remote
there's only
plays.
one controller, so are you on mouse keyboard, Lilac, or?
I am mouse keyboard. Yes.
Okay, then do you have mouse controls? Because then you could easily change your trackpad.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This will be sure. This will be Lilac. Gonna get some. Oh, wrong side. Withdrawn. And you said Dissidents, Lilac?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is me trying to do this, and the game is not happy when I try to mouse over.
I know, for some reason always registers the controller. I can also do it.
Yeah, do you mind just setting Lilac for the distance? Thanks. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
So, I don't think we have any requests for this one. I think you guys are set and ready to go with whatever you'd like here. So, why don't we get started?
Stand forth, exiles. You heed the summons to the Isle of Kaelmer. You now have this chance to prove yourselves. Let us determine which of you is the superior. The withdrawn, stand prepared. Dissidents, stand prepared. The rite shall begin forthwith.
Alright, so as I said, no requests from chat for this one. This is all up to the players, and so it's Headwind in the lead spot for Iroder. While Lilac goes prayer beads on Oralek.
Hey, Lids, would you hate me if I asked you to explain the thing you were talking about at the start of the stream one more time?
Basically,
No, I wasn't able to fully hear all of the audio, and I also had to leave the room for a minute, so I didn't actually catch everything you were saying.
No worries. Basically, I came up with a list of 11 team archetypes here. Some of which may be fairly straightforward and familiar, the types of things we've had before. But the whole idea is that you have basically a guiding principle, a strategy to build your team around. And so it's a way to give players some direction with a request for how to build their team, but at the same time, also some flexibility in terms of how they choose to implement that strategy. So I had a few ideas as for how we could potentially implement some of that stuff, but just a way to give a little bit of a middle ground between, on one hand, requesting that the players create a team a certain way, but at the same time still giving them a little bit of wiggle room to build it the way that they would like.
Why, that was all of them.
Well, there's some big banishments from my rotor, helping to clear out some
Anyway,
space.
let me quickly replug my controller. I think some buttons register in,
Oh, okay.
even though it shouldn't be. Okay, let's see.
All right, do you want me to give you a countdown, or, I mean, that's
Yeah, let's go on.
doesn't really matter in this case.
Good.
There is Orlek, answering quickly for Lilac with a 25 damage plunge, and remember, he does have prayer beads, so he is back here. The imps are crowding around the orb, making it a little hard for the players to regain possession. Double banishment there, though, for Iroder. Leaves just Orlek back. for Lilac, but he can't get the job done there. Vanishing throws for my rotor. That might have been the original intention, but it actually lands in the Pyre for a score. I suppose our rotor will certainly take that. A little bit of room, perhaps unexpectedly so. For Headwind to plunge in there for 20. Those imps are continuing to be a bit of a pest around the center of the arena. But again, it's Iroda with a throw from his Cur. 15 damage from that. More big power cast from Headwind. He follows up with 20 damage plus 10 leech as well. Those imps just do not want to move. Orlek, or Lilac, blocked here, but then banishes one of the defenders, but then gets banished by the second. Dalbird sneaks around and in, this time for a plunge. That does mean he is now gone in this round. Orlek clears out some space, sets up this plunge, but as we just saw, after several Headwind leech plunges, Iroder regained a lot of the health that he had lost. And one score is potentially all Iroder needs. And there
I
it
wasn't sure if
is.
there was fucking down.
Yeah.
So,
The withdrawn prevail.
was not intended
It
beer.
was as though the scribes themselves stood by their side. Thus
well
end
played,
this
you two.
night's proceedings
Let's head on back
until the next rite.
and let us know, chat, if there's anything you would like to see for the next one. Otherwise, of course, we can always leave it up to the players to take whatever they'd like, much like we did in that first match. So did you resolve whatever that potential issue was, Iroder?
I think so. If you can use the mouse unimpeded, then probably.
Seems like it. Certainly better than it was before that first match. Alright, and not seeing any requests from chat at the moment, so I may let you guys back in and off the hook for another one in which you can just take whatever you'd like.
The withdrawn
This time at the book.
versus the dissidents.
Feels like for whatever reason, we haven't seen that much of the book in the past week or two.
Who shall conduct?
I don't
the
know why that
rites?
is.
It's kind of slow today, actually.
Like, remote play is slow, or...
No, like, less people in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know. It might, this is, for what it's worth, in the US, this is technically a holiday weekend. So there may be traveling,
Oh, yeah.
vacation plans, and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance that there are just... People are busy. They aren't as available and around this
You're
week.
too busy for Pyre?
What?
Outrageous!
Indeed.
Bartrude. Teaser.
Legendary Talisman on Tizo for the infinite stamina. We saw Iroder lead with a Crone. Following up here with an exploding Headwind. Was that a dying flame on Pamitha there? Not a talisman we see people take all that often. I mean, it obviously shows up sometimes on Customize Off is maybe where we see it most. And even then, it doesn't always show itself, since it can be a little subtle. Then plunging damage on Dalbert in the last spot for Iroder. this time Lilac is the one taking the leech. And here we go.
Commence.
Protrude, Bright Rotor, plunges in for 25. She's back, but it's Dalbert's turn now. Tries to sneak on through, but he's down. Rotor goes on a vanishing spree there. It gets the orb back right in front of Lilac's Pyre. Dalbert again. Gets things started for Rotor. But it's back to Bertrude as well. She's the one doing the damage here, more often than not.
The rite is nearly ended.
And that does mean could be a one-score game here for Rotor. Now, Lilac does have some leech from this character, no less. But it's only 8. That doesn't change the math very much. Certainly not if Rotor uses his Crone Salute.
Yeah.
GG.
The withdrawn prevail. And what a crushing victory it was.
Well played, you two.
Thus end this night's proceedings.
Alright. Well, in that case, let's head on back. And let us know, chat,
Until the next rite.
if there is anything we'd like to see for the next one. Otherwise, as always, if we don't have any requests, we can leave it up to the players to take whatever they want. That is an option too. And Lilac is turning Customize off here. So randomized exiles, masteries,
That's
and
good
talismans. What's that, Rotor?
That's a good one.
Okay. So why don't we hop on in here, and we won't even get to see what we're getting ourselves into. We're just going to get thrown straight into the action.
The withdrawn shall now
For
face
Rotor, it's
the
Imp,
dissidents.
Nomad, Demon. That might even be Orlek. It is. Then it's a Crone, a Sap, and an Imp for Lilac, and everyone down on Lilac's side. And it looks like Lilac might have Numbing Gust, although Orlek is very quick-footed, even when he is unable to sprint. As you see there, still quick enough to get most of the way, and then leap in once he regains that ability, as Lilac gets one of the defenders back.
Splendid.
Oh, but Stubborn Flame coming from Lilac's Crone that reduces Irotor's damage by 10 whenever Irotor is in the lead, and in some cases, yeah, the high damage character might not be that dramatic of a difference, but in other cases, when you have 15 damage total, minus 10, and you're only dealing 5, that does hurt quite a bit. There's Orlek, who does, of course, have more than just 15 damage, at least before you factor in the Numbing Gust. Or rather, the Stubborn Flame. The Numbing Gust also slowing down Orlek, but once again, Orlek quick enough. But it's not that much of a hindrance. Titan Tooth. Oh! On Vorfrit. Lilac's Crone. That's an interesting discovery. Lilac able to defend against that portal play. Everyone
No
down.
here on RNX.
By the scribes.
30 damage plunge from Lilac. But no prayer beads on Vorfrit. We know she has the Titan Tooth.
Fear not the
Stubborn Flame still active. That will slow down Irotor. At least from a damage standpoint, and the Numbing Gust from a movement standpoint. That hasn't been all that much to deter him from making it in. Headwind. Banishes 1. Banishes 2, but also gets banished himself. And Raji against Palmus. Palmus wins that duel, and at least momentarily, Irotor defenseless there, but Headwind has returned and is able to get rid of Tizo here.
That was
And a
last of them.
humongous series of explosions banishes everyone. It's Tizo who's the first to emerge. Is he quick enough to make it in here, though? Oh, ever so close. But Headwind makes the stop. Oh, and Headwind has banishing throws. Okay, I mean, usually you would lean more on the big nomad casts, but it is another tool in iRotor's toolbox, and that's a very dangerous portal that Lilac has as well, but doesn't need it here. Instead, plunges straight in with the Imp for 15 damage, but that means now no Tizo in this round for Lilac. Stubborn Flame still active, and that is significant because that is what would prevent iRotor from getting a winning score here, even with the likes of Orlek.
Poor exile.
Numbing Gust briefly slows iRotor down, but
One and all.
now, oh, I thought everyone was down for a second there, but iRotor still had Headwind and had a portal that brought him close to the Pyre and close to the orb as well. Lilac thankful to get some defenders back in time, though. Headwind through the portal, uses that banishing throw, hops to plunge, or should I say plunge into the Pyre for 10 damage. And now with 15 Pyre life, unless Lilac has Rekindling, Orlek would have enough damage here. But there is 10 Rekindling. And now that means Headwind has enough damage with a full damage score. Anything less than that, and iRotor would need another score on top of that. But there is Headwind plunging in for the win.
The withdrawn prevail.
GG.
And such a well-conducted victory it was.
Well played, you two.
The rite is ended.
Alright. Why don't we head on back?
Until the stars align.
And let us know, chat, if there is anything you would like us to do in the next one. That one was customize off. Ooh, that's the button that I need to press, not the sermon intro button. Of course, we could always turn customize back off, or field any other requests you may or may not be interested in sending out. Otherwise, we can leave it up to the players to take whatever they'd like. That's the other alternative. Not immediately seeing anything, though. So I think we may be good to go here once again, leaving this one up to the players. So flexibility. Where do we end up arena-wise?
Shall
At the Glade.
take on the dissidents. Welcome. Who shall conduct the rites?
So all up to you guys here. It is the tree arena, so perhaps fitting. That is how iRotor starts with the nutrition stick on Volfred. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Lids, what's that little super expensive request you got there?
Whatever could you be referring to?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly, Blue. Exactly. Whole operation is run by Tony Lazzuto.
What?
Maybe one person will get this reference. Maybe.
I'm afraid not everyone is as elderly as you are.
Why does one immediately assume that that is an old reference? That is a reference to a YouTube video from, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe, at most?
Oh, I didn't know. You said the name like Tony Lazzuto. That sounds like the name of an Italian mobster from the 1930s.
I mean, you kind of nailed it, because that is more or less what is happening in the video.
Then they did a good job naming the person.
Alright, well anyways, here we go with this match in which it is double sap plus an imp for iRotor, and then you see that big mobility, the huge blinks from Volfred. Then on Lilac's side, it's Ruki the Cur, Hamatha the Harp, and Bertrude the Crone in this relatively small arena. Blade of Leave. Well shielded there from iRotor, and helps to set up this 25 damage throw. Oh, and there is the Nutrition Stick blink. Now, Stubborn Flame once again active here. Does reduce iRotor's damage. As we were saying previously, if you have a higher damage character, it feels less punishing. It's a smaller percentage of your total damage that you're losing. iRotor, quick enough with his sap to get the throw in here for 15 damage. Volfred. Blinks a little too far that time, perhaps. Now it's Bertrude, snaking around the defense, and in for a 38 damage plunge. Did take the extra damage at the cost of reduced hope from the talisman.
Somebody get the orb.
Almost now. And Raji. Now double sap attack. Volfred hanging out there with the help of the shield. Protect him.
Someone there.
Can't find a way all the way through and into the pyre. Oh, initiated that triple jump right as he was about to run out of stamina. It was nearly enough to take him in, but not quite. Almost. This is the throwing sap, as demonstrated by that right there. That one's the blinking sap, as demonstrated by that maneuver, even if it is a throw that ultimately is the source of the damage. That time, of course, since it's not as quick, only 5. Ooh, and a bit of a banishing spree there from Raji. Did clear up some room, although iRotor not the quickest to get the orb there, and might have just given Lilac time to recover. Now some room, though, for iRotor, and he plunges straight in with that Nutrition Stick to help him out. And that means 1 score for iRotor, maybe all he needs. With the Stubborn Flame, it likely would need to be either of the saps. Don't think he took any extra damage on the imp. And even then, it would need to be a decent bit of damage on those saps. Doesn't have to quite be full, but there is the throw, and it is enough to finish the job.
The withdrawn prevail.
GG.
The scribes themselves surely have taken note.
Well played, you two.
The ceremony is complete.
All right. Well, let's head on back.
Until the next rite.
I think I can do maybe like 1 or 2 more.
Okay, gotcha.
Do we have any replacements?
Yeah, let us know, chat, if anyone is interested in getting in here. As Lilac just said, looking to swap out relatively soon, so we would be trying to get someone else in Lilac's place in a match or two. That does mean we should have 1 or 2 more matches between iRotor and Lilac, so if there is anything you would like to see between them, this may be possibly our last chance to make that happen.
I don't know why, but I just, like, someone sent a screenshot of the Civil War redeem, and for some reason I thought it said initiate the night.
Initiate what?
The Nightcrawler.
Oh, I mean, it's an X-Man, but other than that, I don't know what that has to do with anything. X-Men, I don't believe, took part in the Marvel Civil War movie, Avengers Civil War movie.
Nightcrawler, like the animal.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean that superhero is named after. Alright, not seeing any requests though, nor am I seeing anyone expressing
Wait, I have
interest
a
in getting in
request.
here. Oh, okay. Waiting on a request from iRotor. Triple harp. Okay. Triple harp. Anything else, iRotor, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, so triple harp from iRotor. Again, let us know if anyone else is interested in getting in soon, because we are going to be looking for someone to take Lilac's place in the near future. At least for now, we may be good to go for this one with the triple harp stuff.
The withdrawn shall confront the dissidents.
Oh, footing arena.
Well,
Oh, it is. Yeah, good point.
who shall conduct the rites?
The game new. So obviously we know that everyone is going to have the same set of exiles, so it's masteries and talismans. Their players can distinguish themselves.
Wait. Quick
Oh.
Festival. Can we restart?
Yeah, we might want to
But
restart.
then we get a different arena.
Do we want to?
Wait,
We can
can we
lock
also-
in.
Lock it.
Just to Fiesta.
Lock in. Lock in.
Yeah.
Yes. Trieste Fiesta.
Indeed.
The withdrawn shall now face the dissidents.
Also, Lids, I just realized that if there are no
Welcome.
takers for a replacement, oh,
What?
whoops,
Because I
Then-
had the talisman equipped.
Oh,
I wrote her got the hangover.
the double
I was saying-
hangover.
The withdrawn shall take
Twins.
on the dissidents.
But I was saying, Lids, if there are no takers for a replacement, you could potentially play against iRotor.
Yeah, I could go for a little bit. I mean, my general rule of thumb is, I just pop in when we are down players and are waiting for other people to become available or what have you. So, would still be looking to get other people in here.
Tamatha.
I think it would be interesting to see you playing.
I mean, it's not like it's a first time or anything like that. It has been a while, though.
I remember I played against you one time, and instead of trying to win the game, you went out of your way to try and do the most extravagant Oralek boat jump ever.
These may be the kinds of things that I tend to do when I play.
Like, by yourself?
More or less whenever I'm in on RITE nights, I, may have a tendency to mess around a bit.
Could I pay Lidcoin to have you play for a match? Can you do that? Is that legal?
Exile. Exile.
Alright, luminous
Who is
idol.
Who is the best harp in your opinion?
Who are you asking?
Either of you.
I do have a soft spot for Tamatha.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot to choose the last mastery.
That's fine.
Commence code.
I accept my fate.
Masteries are overrated. According to Lilac.
Yes.
First dousing
I never said that, but yeah.
You implied it.
the orb.
No, I just said I'll accept my fate.
Alright, fair enough. Well,
Oh, that
here
is
is
a
our rotor
bright-
with a couple of
Those
harp
are some-
plunges.
That's some bright raiments.
On iRotor's side, I feel like iRotor has some
Yeah.
particularly bright ones.
That's what I meant on our rotor's side.
Maybe that one right there might have been the brightest of them all.
No,
No, this.
Now then,
yeah, that one. Look at that. Look at that lime, fashionable lime green.
You are talking to the person who created the color schemes.
Wait, I am?
Oh, well, you're not me, iRotor. You kind of made it sound like it was me,
Fun
but
arrow. I still have to overhaul it again.
that's it. Tamatha thrusts herself into the searing flame. Now, end
Ari says, "How can you accept your fate when you're playing as the dissidents?"
is taken.
That's a good point.
Banished all of them.
That
It is done.
GG.
GG.
The
I think I have to actually go and do triple exile color schemes for every single class separately. Because, especially for the smaller ones, and like the colors all interact differently with the different classes. I think I actually have to make 8
until the
lists
stars align.
with Ultra Umbrats, giving everyone like the custom colors.
How difficult is that to customize all those colors for individual
It's not
characters?
I mean, it's time consuming and much trial and error because you have to see what looks good. It's not hard in the sense that it's hard to code.
It's just, yeah, time consuming. That makes sense.
I mean, looking at the colors and figuring out what looks good is the hard part.
So what you're saying is you're gonna need to do a fashion show.
Yes, exactly.
Ah.
Unironically, that is what it is. I
Evil
mean,
judgment?
fashion and also distinguish, like that you can distinguish them easily.
Mhm.
There's some exiles where just swap primary and secondary color for the second exile. But I think you point out once it actually doesn't help that much because you still see the same color, so I probably have to change that for some instances. Stuff like that, when I find time and motivation.
Mhm. Alright, well, let us know, chat, if there is anything else you would like to see between these two, or if there's anyone who would like to get in. As Lilac was saying, can you go for one more, Lilac? Is that okay, or do you need to swap out right now?
I think I can do one more.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So we will definitely be looking for someone to take Lilac's spot after this, in that
Perhaps
case.
you.
Perhaps me. I'm not seeing any requests from chat at the moment. So I think this one might be back up to the players to go with whatever they'd like.
The withdrawal drawn.
And it's at the fall.
Versus the dissidents. Welcome. Who shall conduct the rites?
It's a
Exile.
prayer beads Zoxiana as Iroder's lead. Oh! Well, you see, the thing is, Ari, it's a little late to do that for this one. We could try doing it for the next match. It's just
Wait,
that
huh?
we haven't established who is going to be playing in the next match. So if you would like to get in for that, that might be a good thing in that case.
Orale.
Oh, a little birdie told you to do that. I see.
Exile.
The classic angel and devil on the shoulder. Do it.
What's the angel?
Do it. I don't know in this case. Take your pick as to whether Falcon Ron request is something the angel or the devil on the shoulder would be whispering into your ear.
Oh wait, that's not mine.
Yeah,
That's
you
not-
do know that it's on mine and my exile, right?
I zoned out and I didn't realize that was me.
Tizo. Demon.
Wait, so hold on a second. Was the intention to activate it on Lilac? Was that the goal? Falcon Ron is a secret third thing? Should I activate Falcon Ron for this one before you press confirm? Mayhaps. Oh! There's a little bit of Falcon Ron chaos there. I don't know if Lilac intended to mess around with a different character who was not set up with any masteries or talismans. It seemed a little bit voluntary, although it's a little bit of a last-second flurry there. Not entirely sure what to make
seem
of
to
that.
not be in full control of my keyboard.
Well, I was moving the mouse away, deliberately trying to prevent you from starting the match because I was waiting to see if Ari was going to confirm whether that Falcon Ron was supposed to be for this match or not. But then I didn't get a response from Ari before you confirmed a character who I did not expect you to confirm. Maybe a different kind of Falcon Ron in that case. A little bit of unexpected chaos. I was gonna say, I mean, if the intention was for Ron to be on this match, I could have put on the Ron icon and whatnot, but it's not there at the moment. Ari, I don't know, I'm just following orders. I don't ask questions, I just follow orders. Tizo. That infinite stamina, Lilac can do that as long as Tizo would like, at least until he goes down. Zoxiana switches into Vizpaleth, who is banished by Tizo.
Quite an exchange.
Huge implosion there, taking out the entirety of Lilac's team.
Exactly by the book.
Nyroder, I believe, does have prayer beads on the harp, so he hesitated for a second, then maybe remembered, yeah, no, I don't need to throw this. Just play this simple, straightforward, and dive straight in. Here comes Visible F. Banishes with Celestial Spike, then also banishes the defender. The second defender, that is. So enough time and space for a 30 damage throw from Visible F, and that means one score could be all that Iroder needs, although Lilac does have a sap. Well, I would say it may have Rekindling, except this is the sap that Lilac did not really take intentionally. It has no masteries or talismans, so we know definitively that Volfred is not providing any Rekindling. And here is Iroder, and there is the winning plunge.
The withdrawn prevail.
GG.
They vastly outperformed their adversaries.
So was Pokemon active or not?
The
No.
right
That's a great question. That's what I was trying to ascertain just before we started the right, and I did not get confirmation one way or the other.
The next right.
So I'm not really sure.
I suppose that's reasonable when it comes to Falcon Run.
Maybe that's how Falcon Ron would have it. If he had the choice. Alright, well, I think, I mean, unless, Lilac, you know, if you're still interested and available, you're welcome to stick around, because I don't think we have anyone yet who is expressing their ability to come in.
If no one else volunteers, I think I can do a couple more.
Okay. So yeah, heads up in chat, if there is anyone else who would like to get in, Lilac is looking to swap out soon. So it would be...
Don't be pressured if you really don't want to.
Yeah, no, if you need to go, then you need to go.
No,
That's totally fair.
I think I can. I think,
Okay,
I think I can do a couple more.
Well, in that case, maybe we do go full-blown Falcon Ron for this match, just to be absolutely certain that we are getting in the proper amount of Falcon Ron. Which is perhaps fitting to put alongside a customized offer quest. I think we can combine those things. And given the Falcon Ron, I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but... Alright. Well, that covers, I think, just about everything. So why don't we get going here?
The withdrawn shall confront.
Okay, so it's a Harp, a Savage, and a Nomad for Iroder. It's 2 Savages and an Imp for Lilac. Iroder checks for the Salute, doesn't have it on his Harp. Vengeful Vow on... might have been the Stowaway for Lilac.
The scribes.
But it is Iroder, plunging in with his Savage. That was Gareth, but he does not have Prayer Bead, so he is gone in this round. Palmer. Down he goes. Oh, Fell Swoop on Zoxiana. Okay, learning a little bit more about Iroder's composition here. Vengeful Vow is on Tizo, not on the Stowaway. Okay. Here is Tizo.
The orb.
He does not have any portals, which means he must be all left side, which means he's an offensive imp, right? Offensive exploding imp. Wait, does that also mean he has a talisman that's doing nothing for him? Does he have the built-in auto explode ability? I think that's on the left side, isn't it?
I mean, that only works if you don't have the orb.
That's true, so I guess there are some cases where the talisman is still providing some value, but probably not what you would choose in a non-customized off match, at least. But I wrote her with a series of scores, and that means one more might be all that he needs here. Moon Crest, that actually helps quite a bit for Lilac, getting a defender back in time to make the stop. We've seen at least 2 out of 3 of Lilac's talismans. Mooncrest, almost enough.
Okay.
GG.
But Iroder still able to sneak past the last defender for the winning score.
Can we take a moment to appreciate that the Super Giant games, for both Savages and I think Nomads, even though you hear it much less often, they made like in each of the voice variations, they have made a custom voice line for the salute meant for each triumvirate name.
So it's different for each class?
So you
when they
hear
say that?
Almost voice when I play him and salute. He says Varalecton, and if Fader plays him, he says Fathuman. You hear in that voice, and for each separate exile, so with a different voice, and for each team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. You do the math there, but it's a lot of lines.
Until the stars align.
I do like that attention to detail. And I do like it that they call out your triumvirate name when you do the salute.
It's one of the main places where you hear the triumvirate name. It's pretty rare
That is
outside
true.
of
And
that.
at the end.
Yeah. Alright, well, set ourselves back here. And let me turn off the Falcon Ron. Okay, and we have an exile request. Lilac does a weird exile request instead of me. So I guess that means it turns into a Lilac exile request?
Hi, Cheering Dragon.
What would you like, Lilac?
All worms.
Ooh. Okay.
Doing a warm off. Okay, I can do that.
Infiniworms? Question mark? Anything else we'd like to see on
I'll
top
try
of
to
that?
not let it come to that.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What's
mean-
wrong with worms?
It's just there's nothing wrong with them. Just Infiniworms.
Whoa, whoa. Slow your roll.
What's wrong with Infiniworms?
Because you don't make progress. You can have a state where the defending team is positioning themselves so that you cannot get through if you don't jump, and the player who does Infiniworms doesn't want to jump, so they don't lose the orb, and then it stays like that until someone changes something.
Turns into a game of... Turns into a mental game. Game theory. Reverse psychology and whatnot. It's okay,
But
I
hey,
wouldn't
it's
expect you to
game
understand.
theory.
I wouldn't expect you to understand. It's a very high-level concept.
I do well understand Eastlack's madness. As well, so on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
I guess
god.
fitting, even though this map is not great for worms.
It is
honestly.
somewhat ironically the worst worm map. Despite it being canonically the worm map.
You know what? I defy Infiniworms. I'll just do this.
Exile.
Okay, so obviously we know everyone is taking 100% worms. As we saw with the all harps request before. It's more so a matter of which talismans and masteries they choose. Both players have already made grievous mistakes when it comes to their team composition here. Iroder doubles down on those mistakes.
It's a deluge.
And technically that's the wild card worm, so we'll give Lilac a pass on that occasion.
the deluge.
So my rotor's all locked in after going speed on Deluge. Lilac goes Leech on Lady River. And here we go, with triple worms on each side. Neither team built in what is, objectively speaking, the most optimal way to set up these teams.
Dissident's Pyre is the first to falter.
But it is iRotor getting us started with 15 damage plunge. No prayer beads on Lady River, although that was objectively the correct talisman to have taken. He throws this one in for 13. So second score from iRotor, and a little bit of boat magic for the worms. As I was saying, they are actually the class that tends to suffer most on the boat. So it's a little surprising to see them actually benefit a bit from the boat physics. The throw has just enough on it, so that's 15 damage for iRotor.
Into the adversary's flame.
No more boat magic there. It's not dramatic, but it's a little boost for the worms. I'll set up another Lady River plunge. Shakes his head. What could have been?
An interesting exchange.
Deluge. His throw.
The
This one,
deluge
good
flung
for
the orb
13.
into the flame.
That means potentially 2 scores, maybe all that iRotor needs here. Lilac does have some leech potential. Of course, the worms don't have a lot of damage to work with, so the amount of leech in question is likely to be low. iRotor, on the second attempt,
Stricken from afar.
lands a 15 damage throw, and now that means one more score, potentially all he needs, again, barring any leech from Lilac or a partial damage throw from iRotor. But with the plunge,
GG.
he'll take the win.
Alright, Sunworms triumph. You don't need resurrection.
Excellently done this time, I must admit.
Correlation, not causation.
The rite is done. Until the next rite.
Alright, back we go.
I am in a mood now, in the Savage Nomad mood,
Oh,
after
okay.
the conversation from the right before that.
Well, let us know if there is anything we'd like to see for the next one, whether that be Savage or Nomad-related things, or something entirely different. Otherwise, of course, we can leave it up to the players. We are potentially still looking for someone to take Lilac's place, for what it's worth, if there is anyone in chat who would like to do that. Otherwise, if not, we can, of course, choose to leave this up to the players to go with whatever they'd like. Chewing Dragon says might be able to join for one match. I mean, happy to get you in, Chewing Dragon. It's just we may find ourselves in a similar situation where we're looking for more players. We're not finding many today. Oh. Oh. Chewing Dragon says he will have his revenge on iRotor. Hold on.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I don't remember there being any bad blood between these two. But
I was not from Ahmed, but I'm sure we can find something.
I'm sure we can find something. That's true. Alright, well... Chewing Dragon, should we do one more between Lilac and iRotor before we get you in? Or, I mean, are you ready to go right now? Not ready to destroy iRotor at the moment. Okay, destroy for what it's worth in all caps. So, why don't we do one more then? Between Lilac and iRotor. Give Chewing Dragon a little more time to ready himself. Doesn't seem like we have any requests from chat, so I suppose if you guys would like to voluntarily go the Nomad / Savage route.
Oh, anyone should go anything. I just know what I'm taking. Entirely up to Lilac. What she plays.
The withdrawn versus the dissidents.
Huh?
Oh, what they play, sorry.
Who
Okay.
shall conduct
Wait, what?
the
Wait, am I
rites?
making a request?
Wait, are you making a request?
I don't know. I heard
Oh
someone
right,
say.
I forgot.
no.
We had Chewing Dragon say Lilac does an Exiles request. So yeah, Lilac, I suppose you are technically the one calling the shots here.
Well, wasn't. Wait, no, wasn't that the.
No, what? That was
No, that was the
worms.
worms. No, we did that. Okay, so this one's up to you guys then.
Oralek.
Speedy Orlek on one side, Almer, and now Exploding Headwind on the other.
Well, Orlac do have some beef. I mean, pretty one-sided beef, I think. But they did have a little bit.
Orlek and who?
Headwind.
Really?
Really?
Specific? Headwind beat?
Orlac, I made a remark like, derisive remark about Headwind because Wolfred replaced Orlac with Headwind.
Oh, okay.
If you choose Headwind in the first ride against Two Nightwings.
Oh.
Edwin.
Guessing I probably liberated Headwind before I got to that point.
Tay.
Vanishing Throws on the Stowaway. That's iRotor's last choice.
Sorry, there was a spider on my arm.
Oh. Lilac goes all the way on the right side, including Crone's Salute, with a leeching Bertrude. Here is Orlek. He'll plunge in for 25. Palmer. Some big leaps. He does find himself leaping into the Pyre for 20. Orlek shoulder smashed by Headwind. There's that beef we were talking about. It's a long wait for Lilac until Orlek makes his return. So at least as of right now, Headwind and Bertrude make that just Headwind. Make that no one. So opportunity here for an uncontested iRotor throw. That's 20 damage.
That's it.
Palmer. He goes down, as does Orlek. And that's the stowaway plunging.
Neither The triumvirate is closer than the
We are tied at the moment. That is true. Just Bertrude for Lilac. Uses the salute, except, oh, Iroder nearly got someone back in time to prevent that. And got 25 damage out of the plunge. Now that's interesting, because usually the Crones can score for 30 when the players have a different amount of Pyre life. But as I was just mentioning a minute ago, the players had exactly the same amount of Pyre life at that point in time, so it actually meant only 25 damage, which also reduced the amount of leech that Bertrude had from that score. So a bunch of factors at play there. Iroder following up with a score after we saw Orlek score for Lilac as well. And that means one score for Lilac might be enough here. And with that score,
Okay.
Lilac takes the win.
dissidents prevail.
GG.
Their pyre yet burns with vigor and resolve.
Well played, you two.
Thus end this night's proceedings.
All right. So let's head on back.
Until the stars align.
And it sounds like we're looking to get Chewing Dragon in at some point here, possibly just for a single match. Does now work, Chewing Dragon? Okay. I'm not sure what Iroder is paying the price for, but Chewing Dragon says Iroder will be paying it. In which case, I suppose we can swap out Lilac and swap Chewing Dragon in. That is assuming that Iroder, you're still good to stick around, and Lilac, you're still okay swapping out here.
That's fine.
All right. Well, in that case, Lilac, I will liberate you. Well, Lilac had, or at least
Wait.
was saying for a while now, that
Wait.
you were looking to go. Now, Chewing Dragon is saying, Chewing Dragon, you're sending me some mixed signals here. First, all this talk about Iroder needs to go down. Now you're saying you want to play against Lilac. Lilac was saying they wanted to head out for a while now.
I'm starting to get rather tired, but I can do one more match for you, Chewing Dragon, because you're special.
Shall we? Okay, in that case, wait, Chewing Dragon, are you on controller? What I'm wondering is, we do a series of switches here. Okay, in which case we could maybe do Chewing Dragon against Lilac for one match. Then Lilac swaps out and we get Iroder back in. So Lilac can take a rest, and if Iroder's still good to stick around, then we can still get some of that matchup between Chewing Dragon and Iroder. This is also assuming that Chewing Dragon can play at least 2 matches. When, well, Chewing Dragon was saying might only be available for 1, so I don't know if that's even possible, but we could try.
What is happening?
Chewing Dragon is DMing me and says that's me. That's okay. I knew that was you, Chewing Dragon. Okay, so let me get Chewing Dragon in, and then I might get Lilac back in for this one, and we'll do one match between you two, and then we'll see if we can squeeze in one match between Chewing Dragon and Iroder after that. Seems like what we might be able to make be the plan. The goalposts are moving a bit here. I'm trying to figure it out, but I think that makes sense.
Does anyone like my Steam profile picture?
It's the one that you were talking about a few weeks ago, right?
I think so. But do you like it?
It exists.
That doesn't
Uh-oh.
sound like you like it though.
Uh-oh. Lilac.
What?
Chewing Dragon says this is a lore match.
What?
What lore, I
What?
will not tell, but you were warned.
What?
Oh dear. Oh dearie me.
Oh god.
So brace yourself for what, I mean, he's saying it's going to be a lore match. He's being very mysterious, though. Not saying what exactly this pertains to. So interpret that however you will. Which teams would you guys like to be? Also, let me just verify that I have you both in now. Oh, I still have iRotor in. Let me give you a quick boot iRotor, and again, if you're still available in a little bit, we may be able to go Chewing Dragon iRotor after this. Now let me double check. Okay. Chewing Dragon would like to be the Dissidents, for what it's worth.
Oh. Well, I also want to be the Dissidents.
Well, if we're looking for a tiebreaker, speaking of Steam profile pictures, Chewing Dragon may have you beat there.
What do you mean the true Dissidents? Bark?
True Dissidents. Yeah, if you take a quick peek at who you're playing against here, I might have to give the tiebreaker to Chewing Dragon. Unless he means the true Dissidents. Is that what you mean? We'll play as the Cringe faction.
Excuse me, what?
Whoa. But yes, true Dissidents, true Nightwings. Wow. Harsh words. Okay, in that case, I think we're good to go here between Chewing Dragon and Lilac. Apparently, there are some stakes involved here in this match. Exactly what those stakes are, I'm afraid only Chewing Dragon knows.
The true Nightwings shall now face the Dissidents.
Okay, so it will take place
Welcome.
in the book.
Who shall conduct the rites?
Chewing Dragon, let me know if you can still, or if you can't, move your cursor. We can do our... Controller doesn't work. Okay, hold on. Try pausing and unpausing the game, Chewing Dragon. Let's start with that. What about now? There we go. Classic. Maybe we can surmise some things about the stakes based on the team that Chewing Dragon opts to take here, and it is Barker in the lead spot. That may tell us something. Oh. Chewing Dragon approves of this Barker versus Barker lead. I was curious to see how he would react. I thought that maybe he would disapprove and would only like at most one of each character, but apparently in whatever lore this is that we're working in, it is possible for there to be two versions of the same character. So perhaps we're learning more about what exactly we are getting ourselves into here. That being said, your guess? is still just as good as mine. Oh. What do we have here? Looks like we may have Lilac deliberately mirroring. Deliberately, you know, add as many in that word as you can. But deliberately mirroring as many of Chewing Dragon's picks as possible.
You can't prove that.
We're perhaps about to find out.
That.
Thus far, it's 2 for 2. It is a pattern, but is it a coincidence? Oh, heads up that Orlick has hangover effect. And it is the legendary talisman on Messenger Imp, and that does mean
Hey.
it is a pure mirror. However, I can't help but notice. I don't think this is what we were looking for.
Hey.
Out of curiosity, who is controlling this team right now? And is it both of you?
Yes, it's both of us.
That is what I thought. Yes. One moment.
Chewing Dragon, no.
Bad Chewing Dragon, no. What about now? Is this... Are people controlling the correct teams?
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
Okay, perfect. So I think it sounds like this will be our only matchup between Lilac and Chewing Dragon. We'll see how this one plays out. Both
Chewing
from a-
Dragon, what happens if I win or lose?
I don't think Chewing Dragon's gonna tell us anything until this match is over. I'm getting that
Come
feeling.
on. Come on, you can tell old Lilac, can't you? Can't you, man? Old Chewing Dragon, old buddy, old pal.
He says, what lore I will not tell, so I assume this will remain a mystery.
You're no fun.
Well, that's 28 damage plunge from Lilac. From Ulmer. So of course the gameplay, the outcome of this match is one thing, but the implications beyond that remain largely unknown. But it is Lilac following up with another plunge here for 20 damage.
Into the ouch.
Into the ouch. Indeed,
Into the
of course.
ouch.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Thank you
Epic.
for articulating that for me, Brighton.
Alas for Alma.
Messenger Imp versus Messenger Imp, and of course Messenger Imp both loses and wins.
The show of glory.
That's another plunge from Lilac. And that means,
Now to the flame.
at least with that extra damage from the talisman, it is possible for Lilac to finish it with one score. Anyone else would come up a little bit short, though. Chewing Dragon did score in the previous round, though, and able to throw this one in as well, although cuts it slightly short there. Uncontested throw. So, theoretically had time, although here comes Barker. He's on a bit of a spree. And he does have prayer
Shopping
beads.
spree, perhaps? At Walmart? Barker
Alright.
goes to Walmart.
And that is the Kerfang Exile, so that is enough
Alright.
damage for Lilac.
Alright, I won, Chewing Dragon. What's my prize?
Now we await the
The
news.
ceremony is complete.
What does it mean?
Until the next rite.
Okay. Chewing Dragon says, you did the thing. Whatever the thing is,
What does that mean?
I'm not sure any of us could say. Also, technically, the thinth. You did the thinth. Alright. Well, while Chewing Dragon is explaining what the implications are from that right, I think we were saying we might try to get some Chewing Dragon against iRotor, because Chewing Dragon was
yes,
also
the-
expressing interest in that.
Vengeance.
Yeah, something about vengeance, getting iRotor to pay for something. I'm not quite sure what.
Take it up with Eastlock.
Oh man, iRotor says, "Forget about me. There's someone else you need to deal with." All right. Well, in that case, given how Chewing Dragon said he probably doesn't have long to play today, I'm going to swap Lilac out and swap iRotor back in.
Alright.
But thank you for stopping by today, Lilac. GG's.
Anytime. GG's.
Was fun.
Let's see.
I won't say anything. I won't
Okay.
say anything.
Okay.
It's farewell.
Farewell. Alright, iRotor invite should be incoming. As we all collectively hold our breath to see what Chewing Dragon says just happened. In the meantime, I will also set up iRotor. Chewing Dragon asks Lilac if you are leaving soon. I know Lilac was saying they were looking to at least stop playing matches. I don't know if Lilac is still going to be hanging out in Discord, or Discord and more like Twitch chat, I suppose. It does mean that if you would like to change to the other dissidents, the false dissidents, you can now do that if you would like, Chewing Dragon, and it seems as though that is the case. So let us know, chat, if they're... Okay. Oh. Lilac's in the middle of an ad. I was about to say, let us know if there's anything we'd like to see for the next one. Then again, there's a chance, given this whole apparent revenge narrative that we have going on here, that maybe Chewing Dragon has something else in mind for this match against iRotor. And Lilac does say we'll still be here in chat at least, just not playing, or whatever that's worth. I get the feeling that's because he was about to write a novel, and he wasn't sure if he would be here anymore to read this novel. But that's just a guess. That's my guess. But in the meantime, we do have another match here. Chewing Dragon says, no, I'm not writing a novel. It's more like a short story. It is a piece of writing of some variety. That much I believe to be true. Is there anything we are looking for in the meantime between Chewing Dragon and iRotor? I get the sense that yes, Chewing Dragon is probably a little preoccupied writing up whatever this thing is and may not necessarily be immediately ready to jump into this next match against iRotor. But I suppose that does also mean there's a little bit of time if anyone is scheming something up for this matchup between Chewing Dragon and iRotor, although as I was saying before, maybe they're just looking for a simple, straightforward match here. Because Chewing Dragon is talking a lot of trash right now. saying he's gonna destroy iRotor. iRotor shall be annihilated. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe best for us to jump in here and sort this whole thing out.
The dissidents shall confront the withdrawn.
Okay.
Welcome. Who shall conduct the rites?
Carter says, what I would do next is out of love.
Dalbert.
It's Dalbert first. I'm not sure what to make of all this. Then again, you could say the same thing about a lot of Chewing Dragon rites. Black Hoof on a mastery list Barker. Now that's an interesting choice.
Demon.
Liz Paleth or iRotor. It's 2 curs thus far. Chewing Dragon. For what it's worth, Chewing Dragon, it does require you to take 4 masteries if you use one of those scribe snubs. You will be stuck taking 4 here. Oh yeah, like biting your tongue or your cheek, stuff like that. No fun. What's up, Camilo? How's it going? No talisman? What is Chewing Dragon doing? Another cursed talisman? Meanwhile, iRotor goes triple demon.
Now begin.
Jody, or iRotor, and Chewing Dragon doing some curse salutes, which have no effect in-game other than locking you into an animation for a second or two. Chewing Dragon can't pick up the orb with that cur, well, with the curse talisman he took on that one. Can't cast with Snadra with the curse talisman he took on her. But that's 40 damage from iRotor's plunge. Chewing Dragon does win the initial orb race, but then proceeds to immediately lose all of his characters. And that means time for another 30 damage plunge this time for iRotor, and just one more of those, and that could be game over. Meanwhile, Chewing Dragon juggles the orb in the air with Barker, that Black Hoof. Still can't cast with Snadra. And so there's Iggy. And finger guns for the win. But still a lot of question marks here.
Did not even come close. The rite is complete.
Lime Iggy indeed. Well, let's head on back.
Until the stars align.
And still a lot of questions about not only that match we just had, but one before that between Chewing Dragon and Lilac. And Chewing Dragon says, finally, I have my revenge. I don't think I understand. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it just doesn't seem to be adding up. Something tells me Chewing Dragon was playing a different kind of game in that match. Perhaps while we were playing checkers, he was playing 7D chess. Maybe our fickle brains are too feeble to understand. Uh-oh. He says, "Iroda, look behind you!" Is there gonna be like a clown or something right in his face trying to terrify him, or some other, like, I don't know, some horror movie thing? I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of that. Well, anyways, happy to keep either of you guys in if you're still interested and available. Did see Camilo stop by a minute ago, though, and Camilo, let us know if you are interested in getting in today. As we've had Iroder in for basically all day, and Chewing Dragon was saying he was only able to stick around for a little while. So, we may have one or possibly even both of these players looking to swap out. Camilo says he is interested in getting in. So Chewing Dragon, I know you had said that you only had time for one match. We've now done two. Do you need to swap out? Or are you good to stick around? Okay.
Sorry, was that referring to me or to someone else?
I think Chewing Dragon now is going to leave. He says he has cursed you, for what it's worth, Iroder. So...
Ah, that's not new. Istok always has my back. Fine.
Iroder, if you are good to stick around, it sounds like we could have you
sure.
face off against Camilo, if that works. Let me boot Chewing Dragon. Did that go through? There we are. Okay. And then Camilo. I don't see you on Steam right now, but if... Oh no, I do see you on Steam. I can send you the invite. Ah. Okay. Maybe this had something to do with it. Chewing Dragon now does a talisman request and says Iroder is cursed. I take that to mean Iroder has cursed talismans in this next match. Oh, or not. It's just a more general, hey, by the way, here's a curse. The fact that it's possible to have cursed talismans is just a coincidence and not actually the thing that you're requesting. He should be free to choose the vibe of the curse. It's a rather flexible, merciful curse in that way.
Hello.
Hey, Camilo. Let me make sure. Camilo, I think you should be able to be on keyboard mouse today if you would like to. Because we have Iroder on controller. And then, why don't we just make sure that these controls look good for you? Because I think it's what, like salute, I think you usually switch? Yeah, exactly. There we go. Okay. Let me just update the information we have here. Oh my gosh, it's not even like Camilo is a hard name to spell. Yet I found every way to misspell it. Alright. So you are not the dissidents. You will instead be the Fate. Alright, so we have that very nebulous curse that Chewing Dragon set on iRotor. But other than that, we do not have any requests for this one. At least not at the moment. So in that case, I suppose we can get this one started with our first match of the day between Camilo and iRotor.
The fate shall take on the withdrawn.
This one at the Glade. And all up to the players to go in whatever direction they would like.
Volfred.
Camilo goes Nutrition Stick on Volfred.
My controller. Ah, no, my controller registers. Okay.
Now, you don't have to take the Cursed Talismans, iRotor, for what it's worth. Chewing Dragon is saying, however you would like to be cursed is up to you. It's a saluting Prayer Beads Pamitha for Camilo in the second spot. Quick throwing Udmilda in the second spot for iRotor. Power casting Hedwyn is the last member of Camilo's team. iRotor goes back to the Cursed Talismans. His Palat. So definitely a cursed setup for iRotor. A fairly straightforward cursed setup, the likes of which we might have expected to see when we initially saw that request. So many limitations here for iRotor to consider, and on this occasion, time for Camilo to throw that one in for 22 from his sap. Hedwyn, big power cast. But iRotor gets it back with Vizpaleth, only for Hedwyn to banish her. Volfred, oh, in fact everyone down, at least momentarily, for Camilo. Oh, and an interesting exchange there. Hedwyn went down, and in the meantime, iRotor able to get the throw in for 30 damage from Udmilda. Camilo throws the orb against the Pyre, gets it back with Pamitha, and I suppose it may have been unconventional, but it did work. So you can't knock it on that occasion. Now it's just Volfred, and he tried to use the big blink from the Nutrition Stick, but iRotor did not fall for it. Fortunately for Camilo, the sapling was right where iRotor had the portal set up, so iRotor portaled to his own demise. Now that portal no longer in the sapling aura, but much further away from the Pyre. Not that iRotor needed it there. Able to get the 30 damage Crone throw even without the portal support. Big implosion there. It's Pamitha who emerges, but she's currently the only member of Camilo's team. Throws the orb against the Pyre, buys himself a little more time, but not enough to stop iRotor here, and that means one score would potentially be enough for iRotor. Camilo does have a sap, but has at times opted to go the no rekindling route on those saps. Speaking of which, here's Volfred, but his blink is blocked. Iroder choosing not to go on the attack with Raji there, instead waits for Udmilda. Of course, doesn't have Vizpleth at all after having plunged. Oh, and well, there's a reason why wasn't going on the attack with Raji. Raji can't pick up the orb. Does make it a little hard, at least to initiate an attack with Raji. It is technically possible for him to score if he's hanging out on top of the pyre when he receives a pass from a teammate. That does still require some Udmilda involvement in that case. Speaking of which, here is Udmilda. But unable to stop Camilo here from getting a quick sap throw in for just 4 damage. In fact, one could argue that was almost a bad thing for Camilo, because it means Iroder back at full strength here, and now it's Camilo who's defenseless. It's time for that throw. There is rekindling, though. It's 10. So Camilo... Oh, no. Affected by the Crone Salute. Except, can Camilo hide within... Oh, the sapling aura. I think he had it the right idea initially. Could have waited for an exile to come back, instead ventured out. Iroder got the orb back, and by then, Camilo still defenseless with all those howlers.
The rite is done.
GG. Well played, you two. Why don't we head on back and let us know, chat, if there's anything we'd like for the next one.
Right.
So that one was all up to the players. Oh, actually, well, not exactly. It was a very loose request for a cursed setup for my Iroder, and Iroder did absolutely take a bunch of cursed talismans. I'm afraid there is no more Ron today. He has already been summoned. But is
The real curse was having no respawn mechanic with 3 low hope characters.
What, it was Crone, Demon, what was your third?
Imp.
Imp.
Imp's like the best one, but Imp respawn time is still not great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't really think of them as long respawn characters. They're somewhere in the middle. But when you have a Demon and a Crone, then it's tough. Not seeing anything else here request-wise right now, so this one might be all up to the players then. Oh, hold on. Right as I press the commence button, I think we can still squeeze it in. I think we'd still squeeze it in. A last second baby Ron, in a way, the customize off for the randomized setups. So we'll see what we end up with here. And where we end up.
The fate shall
Fairly neutral arena at the Ridge of Gold. It's Demon, Imp, Nomad for Camilo.
begin.
It is Worm, Nomad, Imp for Iroder. In fact, somewhat similar teams here. I mean, big difference between the Demon and the Worm, yes, but 2 out of 3 characters are actually completely identical, at least they're Lendl and they're Tizo. As for whether they are using different masteries and talismans, I suppose that's fairly likely.
A pyre has been
Oh,
scaled.
Black Claw.
Oh, yeah, did you have your aura still when you plunged there?
I almost pity when
Perhaps Iroder still cannot escape those cursed talismans. Oh yeah, there's Black Hoof. So certainly still some cursed talismans at play here.
swift recovery.
Black Claw on Iroder's side, and Black Hoof, I think, is on Camilo's side. Camilo has Leech, though, on Jodariel, which is not a bad thing. It's the one that always gives a flat 10 Leech, which on a high damage character like Jody is maybe not the best source of Leech. You'd rather get the 50% one. But yeah, there's confirmation. Lendl cannot pick up the orb, for Camilo at least. There are probably worse characters, worse classes to have that, since it does basically limit Lendl to defense, and as a Nomad, he's not bad at that. Fairy Spirit. That's an unusual one. Camilo did pick up the Easter egg, but was not able to convert with that extra stamina. In fact, it's Iroder who does that. 15 damage score. There's that Black Hoof again. Does limit Camilo, and it makes him a little more predictable, since Iroder knows probably doesn't need to worry that much about any Lendl attacks. Portal nearly helped to set up Jodariel there. Portal gets a little bit closer, and there is an Easter egg. Not that Iroder needs it at the moment. Shoulder Smash deleted Iroder's worm. And now Iroder back with his imp in there. You see, yes, still has the aura when holding the orbs. That is the other cursed talisman we have in this match. One apiece. There's infinite stamina on Jody. That is a very strong setup. And Leech as well, and that may be something that turns into Camilo's go-to strategy here. And after that plunge, Iroder does 15 damage, loses his imp, and Camilo gets Jody back. Has a source of infinite stamina for her. That's exactly what Camilo wants. Very speedy and patient. Enough so to find a way through, even if at first Iroder built a block.
A second wind.
Lendl doing what he can defensively at least, but again, it's going to have to be up to Tizo to get the job done offensively, and that is exactly what Camilo does. GG.
Accomplished effortlessly, I might add.
Well played, you two.
The rite is ended.
Alright, let's head on back
Until the stars align.
and let us know, chat, if there's anything we would like to do for the next one. Otherwise, at the very least, we'll put Customize back on. And if we don't hear any requests, then we'll leave this up to the players to take whatever they'd like. Nest of Triesta, all saps, and no talismans. We need a talisman, otherwise the game will crash. For what it's worth, Camilo, occasionally I hear a bunch of static on your microphone, but I cannot tell what you're saying.
Okay, I was not saying nothing.
Now you're very quiet, but you're not staticky. Okay, so minimum talismans at least. Alright, so we go here. Okay, so it's all saps, Nest of Triesta. The one talisman we have is the cursed talisman you need to do the triple saps. And mastery-wise, people have to have 50 rekindling. Camilo's like, oh no, I've seen this before. Camilo has probably participated in some of these super sap matchups in the past. Is core here? I don't know. I haven't seen any signs of core. Perhaps not. As I say every time we do these triple sap matches, it has the potential to be a very long match. As of late, that has not been the case as much. So we may not be about to have a 40-minute rite, but there was a time when that could happen with a setup kind of like this. Well said. Well said, Camilo. Okay, well, I think... I hesitate to say that we're ready. Oh.
Oh.
One moment. Perhaps this was the short story that we were waiting to get from... Oh, goodness.
My gosh. It's
From Chewing Dragon. I think this just relates to the matches that we've already done. Honestly, I'm half tempted to, like, read this during the next match. While we have a potentially very slow sap match. Except that I can't scroll through chat while we're in-game, because I would have to tab out to do that.
Just take a picture of it with your phone.
Take a picture of it? I actually could. Wait, hold on. I might actually do that. Let me see if I can fit it all in one picture. I don't think I can fit it in one picture. I actually don't think I can fit it in one picture. This is so stupid. This technique is so silly. Well, I'm gonna do it. You recommended it. I'm gonna do it. Okay, ready? Here's a picture of the first part of the message. Then here's a picture of parts 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. Why don't we get this one started then? And while these guys are setting up and or potentially even doing this all saps match, I will hopefully those pictures are high enough resolution that I can read them. Yeah, I think so.
Shall now face
By the way,
drawn.
Chewing Dragon is also thinking of ordering an arc of Archer in the future.
Who shall
He has a design in mind. Okay, well let me... So, the setup is... It's all saps. 50 rekindling, and the only talisman you are allowed to take is the cursed talisman that prevents you from placing a sapling on one of those saps so that the game doesn't crash. That's basically the setup. And then while you guys are doing that, I will read the messages from Chewing Dragon. Let me make sure I'm doing them in the right order. Okay, so here we go. This is what Chewing Dragon was saying. The idea was about, like, a story based 30 years ago or something after the rebellion lost, and most of the Nightwings getting executed. Basically, the downside gets even worse, but a new cycle of the rites somehow begins. The main character would probably be Archer after he got cast down because of his connection to Barker. The backstory behind them is that Archer was young and idolized his brother, and was in his band, but after Barker was sent to the downside, he grew up and matured. That's the first part. Then we have, however, he still was sent down here.
I think you're supposed. This was 50 rekindling total, right?
Lilac said 50 rekindling, and I deliberately did not ask for clarification to verify whether that was 50 rekindling total or 50 per character, in part because I personally would prefer for it not to be 50 rekindling on every character. So I deliberately did not. Lilac says per character. Okay. Okay, so then the other parts of Chewing Dragon's story. However, he still was sent down to the downside. The main idea behind the thing was how Archer tries to bring...
I already picked all left side on one sub, so I just do 100 rekindling instead.
Yeah, I think we might just do 50 total in that case, given how we've already locked in. Lilac says that's okay. Okay. So yeah, however, Archer was still sent down to the downside. The main idea behind it was that Archer tries to bring Lloyd to the dissidents back, basically return to the tradition as the true dissidents. Lots of confrontation with his grown-up brother, Barker. Probably, Almer is the head of the Fate, who still mourns the Stowaway's death. Snadra, as the true dissident's reader, basically for drama of reader leaving her behind, or getting killed, and her being cast down to the downside again. That is what Chewing Dragon was messaging. And just in time for us to actually start this match, triple saps, only talisman is the one that prevents us from having the game explode.
The first dousing.
So not a lot going on there. And then the mastery side of things, it's rekindling-ish,
The orb is taken.
but not quite maxed out.
United in banishment.
Everyone down on Camilo's side at the moment. And is that a numbing gust I see? Well, we heard some people saying, we're doing 50 rekindling total, then that means we're gonna have to do some stuff on the left side of the tree, which is where you get that numbing gust. So that does make sense. But if everyone gets banished, we will likely see that.
Thoroughly banished.
And we talked a little while ago, a few matches ago, about how there are some characters, namely Orlek and Worms, who are fast enough they can still deal with being slowed by the numbing gust. However, the saps are definitely not among those who have that luxury.
Positively brutish. All banished.
The game may be glitching out a little bit with the saplings.
It's probably because too many saplings.
Yep, that is typically what it looks like.
One almost got through.
You see, too many saplings will spoil the brawl.
Yes. All of the fate gone.
There is that numbing gust. Iroder is close to the pyre, but he can't throw it. He can't blink. So instead he waits for Camilo to get an exile back so that then he is able to throw. Has to cut it a little bit short, but does still get in for 14 damage. Those are the kinds of compromises we will likely see both players need to make. As, especially without the masteries or additional talismans, this is not the offensive sap setup that players would often choose. That players would ever choose, really. None of those quick throws, none of those nutrition sticks. The types of tech we tend to see help enable more offensive sap play. None of that is in play here. Yeah, Iroder's saplings in particular glitching out a bit. As you can see from these streaks of green occasionally scattering across the screen. And perhaps at times, in ways that banish Camilo's exiles in strange and unpredictable ways.
Banished. All of them.
Such as that.
No.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah, as you see just then,
Now go.
doesn't seem to be happening very much for Camilo, but Iroder's auras.
I did take Black
Oh, there we go.
Claw,
The game crashed.
Yeah.
That was pretty inevitable.
Let me just say we played it right.
Yeah.
I forgot my curse talisman.
Oh, Camilo forgot the cursed talisman.
Yeah,
Okay.
completely unintentionally.
I think it is a
Okay.
very appropriate ending to such a ride.
Forgot to run back.
Maybe it's best if we leave the game crashing setups for now. Well, it is getting fairly late, so we could look to transition into Liberation Rite Protocol either potentially with this upcoming match, or we could do one more before that if you'd like. Don't know how you guys are faring timing-wise. I know, Iroder, we've had you in for a while now, so totally understandable if you need to head out soon.
Is there someone to replace me?
Well, more so a matter of would we just wrap things up altogether?
I could do that. We'll see.
I guess what I'm saying is, it may be Liberation Rite time. Let me at least get you guys back in for one more match. Maybe more than that if you guys are up for it, but would rather not end on a game crash and no Liberation Rite at the very least. We ought to squeeze in the Liberation Rite. Well, if anyone was wondering what happens when you do have too many saps and too many saplings, there you go. You start to see those glitchy auras from the saplings in non-circular shapes and occasionally showing up in strange places around the arena as well, and it's cool to a certain extent, yes, although for the players might be kind of frustrating since it's wild and unpredictable and not something that really either player is controlling all that much, and then more often than not it means it's only a matter of time before the game crashes. In fact, it probably lasted longer than I would have expected it to have done. The mad busted version of saps. Alright, so how are we doing timing-wise? Should we go into the Liberation Rite right now? Do we want to do one more match first?
I can do as many more as I got it.
I feel like I heard Camilo talking, but it was too quiet to tell what he was
Do
saying.
you hear me better now?
Now I do, yes.
Okay, I gotta like speak really loudly to the microphone. I can do as many more as you all want. I just got here.
Okay, so Camilo's fine. Iroder, how are you doing timing-wise?
We can play a few more. It's
Okay.
fine.
In that case, let us know if there is anything request-wise we would like. Sounds like we don't need to go straight into the Liberation Rite. I did have my concept for a certain setup certain style of setup we could do for a match, although maybe it's best after having just done a crazy triple sap setup to leave this one up to the players.
I mean, I hear you.
Whatever you guys prefer. I mean, this is what we were describing like 3 times over at the beginning of the match, or at the beginning of the day, Lilac, so... I mean, how many times should I explain it today? 5? I mean, obviously, if we're about to do it, then I can, but... Lilac turns on the sermon intro. Oh, but says do whatever Lid's idea is. Oh, did I not remember to do Titan Stars? Maybe I forgot to do Titan Stars today. That is possible. Let me see. There we go. If you refresh the page, Titan Stars should be up now. My bad. Yeah, no worries. I can explain it again. So, basically, the idea is that I came up with a list of, let's call them team archetypes that players could build around. Basically, a certain strategy or theme for you to build your team around, and then it's up to you in terms of how exactly you want to implement that archetype, but it gives you some direction in terms of what style you ought to play in. So, just to give you an example, super straightforward one is having a really fast, high-speed team. Obviously, we've done that one before, but there are others on the list that are more unusual or a little more nuanced than that. So what I was thinking, in terms of implementing this sort of thing, would be that I could randomly select one of these archetypes for each of the players, and then basically assign one of those archetypes to each player randomly, so that, and maybe even do that secretly, so only the player knows what their strategy is supposed to be, and then up to the player to set up their team in whatever way they think is best to build upon that strategy, Then we play out the match, and then if you would like to at the end, you can say, oh yeah, no, I was the super speedy team. Oh, I was the, you know, team XYZ, focusing on this other strategy, so on and so forth. So that was my idea. Or something it's not really different from things we've done in the past. It certainly has some similarities, but it's a little bit of a middle ground between requesting specific things for the players to take, while at the same time still giving them some flexibility. Camilo, that may or may not be one of the archetypes. But it sounds like people do want the secret approach. Okay, so I think I have 11. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I have 11. I'm just going to roll a random number generator. I'm not even going to tell you what I get from the random number generator, but that is what is going to inform which team composition I'm sending to people. And I'll just DM you on Discord, I think. Alright, I'm going to do Camilo first since he's player 1. I have rolled for you. Let me just count off which one. I should have numbered these. That would make this a lot easier. Hold on. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. 1 second, Camilo. I will DM you your team archetype. So again, some of these are fairly straightforward, might be the kinds of things we've done before. Other ones might be a little more unusual. Let me roll for Camilo. You should have just received yours. I'm going to now roll for iRotor. And then I will message you. Let me actually get message for you. Let's see, so iRotor. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions about how to interpret these ones. Again, some of them are more straightforward than others. So again, up to you guys. Up to you guys in terms of what you think does and does not count as, you know, this sort of thing, how you want to approach it. You know, there may be some things that are way more obvious than others. So you don't necessarily have to do all of the most obvious things. Up to you. But those are the ideas, at least. Let me know if you have any questions about just what they mean. As I said, some might be more straightforward than others, and I have not shared what they are with the other person, so your opponent does not know what your strategy is. You may have the same strategy, you more than likely have different strategies, since there are 11 in total. I'll start us up here.
Exiles, welcome to the Ridge of Gaul. Here, one of you may walk the path to glory. Let us see which one of you is more deserving. The Fate stand prepared. The Withdrawn stand prepared.
Okay. So obviously you know what your strategy is, but I did not tell your opponent, so they don't know, and you may be able to be a little bit secretive, or depending on what you pick, again, it may be immediately obvious to them. That depends. Let me just double check if anyone is messaging me real quick for clarification. One moment. Are those... Oh no, okay. Looks like you guys are good.
exile.
So I am intrigued to see how you guys opt to implement these things.
Tizo.
Especially some of the ones that are not as straightforward and have a little more room for personal interpretation. And some of it is setup-wise, of course, which characters, masteries, and talismans you pick, but also could affect just your playstyle approach. Even if you had exactly the same teams, the way that you execute may differ. So I'm curious. I do know, I know what they have, the two of them, but we shall see how this plays out here. As Iroder sets up a dangerous portal, but the orb unclaimed, at least until now. Iroder gets us started with a 20 damage plunge. Camilo with the exploding sapling. But Iroder's still able to get it back. Camilo now locks down the orb with the sapling. Oh, and devious off-the-wall throw from Camilo. Maybe didn't go where he'd hoped it would, but then again, that just kind of something you have to accept when you do go for the off-the-wall throw. And it is Iroder plunging for 20. Oh, and that shield from Camilo at least protected the sap, but everyone else went down. Ooh, the throw intercepted. Iroder loses one character, but now brings the second. And there is a quick attack from Camilo, plunging in, but now without the stowaway in this round.
Now to the flame.
And the throw not quite in range for Camilo there, but huge exploding sapling. Except Iroder able to get rid of the sapling with his harp. And Tizo able to get the stop. Camilo also has a relatively dangerous portal, although Iroder trying to block it at the moment. Now the portals change position. Not quite as threatening as they once were.
A rude predicament for the
Everyone down on Iroder's side, and time for the Camilo throw. It's 23 damage here, not quite full. Ooh, and Iroder avoided that exploding sapling, and now opportunity for Iroder. Except that numbing gust is not what he wanted to see, even with the infinite stamina on his demon slowed down significantly, but does manage to make it through.
A bit of a blunder. Oh.
Oh, wait. Time and space now for Camilo. Quick throw. 25 from his imp.
Oh. None left unscathed.
Stowaway for Camilo. Retreats. Just narrowly avoids banishment, but here is Iroder winning the orb back right next to the Pyre and immediately plunges.
Now go on, just once.
One more score, potentially all that Iroder needs, but again, Camilo does have a sap, may have rekindling. But he does have that numbing gust, which means he probably went all the way down on the left side to get that. He would need to go all the way down on the left side to get that. Which means at most he'd have 10 rekindling. So unlikely that we see him with the maximum amount. Unless it's actually been a Typhoon Bomb all along, but I don't think it has been. Milo eyeing the portal, but so is Iroder. Stow away, trying to find a way through. Can't get the throw off. I rode her through his portal. He's vanished.
Yes.
Oxiana around and in
GG.
for the win.
The
GG.
withdrawn prevails.
Well played, you two.
Conducted with aplomb.
So if you would like to share what your team composition, your archetype was, you are welcome to do so. If you want to remain mysterious, you can.
Until the next rite.
I will say, one of you had a much more straightforward archetype than the other.
Had the long range core.
Yeah, long range throws for Camilo was his archetype.
Absorb pressure from your opponent, then quickly counterattack.
I could have probably written you a lot more detail than that I wrote her. I wasn't sure if that was enough context.
Depends on how you define pressure, I suppose, but Imfirst probably fits the bill.
That one, that might even be... Is that the most abstract? Maybe the most or the second most abstract on the list. But there you go. So that's the general idea. As I said, I have 11 of those on the list, so technically, if you randomly roll that for both players, there's, you know, 121 potential combinations, which is kind of cool.
Was that off the dome? You just make that number in the
I'm sorry, you're really quiet again, Camilo.
Did you just get that number in the moment? Was it off the dome? Did you hear me?
A little bit. I heard like half of that.
Gosh, my headphones are gone. Okay, hold on.
I feel on 200%, but I did understand it pretty well.
Well, I mean, theoretically, since there are so many combinations, it is the kind of thing you could repeat a fair bit and end up with a different setup each time, or likely a different setup each time, and hopefully, again, with that flexibility there where you aren't locked into anything exactly, it still balances between getting the requests in while at the same time giving players some flexibility to choose what they'd like to choose. That was the hope, at least. No, that's 11 squared, is what that number is. Just 11 potential combinations for the first person, multiplied by 11 potential combinations for the second person. So theoretically, as long as you're allowing people to have the same composition on both sides, which I think you should allow to do, because again, people might approach it differently, and technically, the players, if you keep it secret, they don't know that their opponent has the same strategy. So I think that's fine, having them both potentially have the same approach, and then that would leave you with 121 possible outcomes, which is a lot. So let us know if there is anything we would like to do for the next one. Yeah, I mean, especially if you add more concepts, more archetypes to the list, the number goes up quite a bit. We get up to 144 next, and that's a ton. I mean, that's obviously more than we would ever do in any single Rite Night. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to give it another go, we can try that, and we can see what you guys end up getting.
Why not? Let's make this the penultimate.
Okay.
Penultimate, right?
Sure.
I'm not sure. I'm kind of tired by now.
Camilo's up for it as well? Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're these super crazy concepts or anything like that, but I do kind of like leaving it a little bit mysterious, because that helps when you're going up against an opponent and you know what your strategy is, but it just adds to the whole mystique around not knowing what your opponent has. If you don't even know what the options are, then you have no clue what you might expect from your opponent. Okay, so I'm gonna roll now. I'm gonna do Camilo first again, since he's player 1. Let's see, Camilo. I will DM you in a moment. Alright, Camilo, you have your archetype now. Should be DM'd to you. Now, Rotor, rolling for you. Okay, should have sent it to both of you. Let me know if either of you guys have any questions, but again, as a reminder, up to you in terms of how you choose to interpret and implement those archetypes. Right, there's, especially like when you're on the selection screen, like if someone, like for example, last time Camilo had the range throws, if Camilo took like a range throw sap in his very first spot, and Rotor knew that one of the archetypes was range scoring, then that would probably immediately tell Rotor, okay, I know what to expect from all of Camilo's characters. So it's kind of nice to have that extra layer of mystery there, so it's less solved. Alright, but let's get this one going then. You guys should both have your team ideas, at least. Not seeing any questions, so I think we're good on that front.
The fate shall take on the withdrawn.
And of course, we're doing these random archetype rolls before we see what arena we're in. There may be some instances where an arena may benefit one archetype over another. You know, again, last time we saw range throws from Camilo, and that is something that can vary in effectiveness quite a bit from one arena to the next. We'll see how the players choose to implement things this time round. How much up to you. Up to you. Up to you to decide exactly how. I mean, of course, the idea is that you're trying to focus on this strategy, but it's not like you have to pick the most obvious things in every single spot. And again, some of it might be how you set up your team, but it might also be, to a certain extent, the way in which you approach the gameplay, the playstyle, and the match itself.
Alma. Messenger Imp.
So I am curious to what extent the players are trying to understand and maybe even predict what their opponents are doing, or if it's all just, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna see how I can do that best, and whatever they're doing, well, that's out of my control. Alright, and here we go. Our penultimate rite. Last one before the Liberation Rite. It looks like my game tabbed out. Yeah, there we go.
And I cannot control anything.
Oh, hold on. My rotor's frozen. 1 second. That's... Oh. Did your controller disconnect, I remember?
I just
Oh, okay.
reconnected.
Okay. Yeah, let's just see that real quick. There we go.
Okay.
Would you like me to give you guys a countdown?
Sure.
Okay. I'm just going to go back to this. I'll let you move slightly. There we go. Okay. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, I'll hit resume. 3, 2, 1, go.
Now then,
Rotor
the first
with possession and first to score here. 20 damage on that plunge, but no prayer beads. So no Almer, and now just Lady River here for Rotor, and down she goes, but Almer returns.
How fortuitous.
Back with Rotor, but once again, just Lady River. Now Camilo.
A
Quick
nearly
throw.
negligible
Good for
effort.
6. Series of banishments in front of Camilo's Pyre, but Camilo's still at full strength here. Gets the orb back with Lady River, and can't convert on that occasion.
A mere
When the
attempt.
auto pass back to Gareth. Rotor kept possession at least at that point. But now no one has it, and the stunning claim means no one's gonna have it for a little while, at least until Rotor teleports to the orb, and then jumps in for 20.
Just hopped out again.
Now, what is it? Yeah, that is weird. I'm not,
I'm not happy
my
with that.
hands are not on the keyboard. I don't understand why it's doing that. Alright, last time you, what, unplugged, replugged controller? and
Yeah, I
also-
replugged. Actually, should
Okay.
be fine, huh?
Just check. Okay. Should I do a countdown again?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So it'll be 3, 2, 1, go, and then I'll hit resume. 3, 2, 1, go.
The orb is taken.
It's Camilo.
An
Quick throw.
unimpressive thrust, but
Converts
true.
for 4.
Why?
Oh my
yeah.
god, what is happening? This has happened before, where it's specifically, whenever a score happens, the game for some reason taps out. I'm not touching either the mouse
Okay.
or the keyboard. I don't understand why this is happening. Okay. So I'll give you a 3. Oh, Rotor, do you need to unplug, replug
I
again?
already have.
Okay, so I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, go, and on go we'll hit resume. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh,
Stunning claim. But it's actually Camilo getting to the orb first, even after that.
the orb slips
The throw is
from
short.
clutches.
So Rotor able to recover. Lady River. Oh, banished. Inches in front of Camilo's Pyre.
Comical.
Then the auto pass back to Gareth. Gareth plunges in for 20. Let's see if the game decides to tab out. It did. I'm sorry. This is really frustrating me because it's completely out of my control. I'm sorry. There's quite literally nothing I can do to stop it because I am not doing anything to start it. Alright. Assuming that you have unplugged, replugged, assuming that that was necessary, I'll give you the 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
The orb.
Milo, oh, snuck in the quick throw there. Will it tab out? That time it didn't. Don't know why, nothing changed. Don't know why it started doing it in the first place, but alas, such is the way of Steam Remote Play.
A stifled
And
effort.
a last second save there from Camilo. Rotor, keeping the pressure on. Oh, absolutely keeping the pressure on. Teleporting to the orb, barely even saw it, it was so quick. Follows up with the plunge, and that means one score. Potentially all Rotor needs, except there is rekindling.
Alive. Oh, Dolbert, son, proof.
Camilo. Oh no, I rode her with the teleportation there. Sneaky once again. Camilo with it back though. Quick worm throw.
The flame
This
is
time it's 13.
into the adversary's flame.
Camilo, first to the orb. It's Lady River. Sidesteps one defender, but then does get banished. I rode her. Again, one score, potentially all he needs. I don't think Camilo has any leech.
Not
Quick
but
throw from
force of
Camilo
will
again. This time it's 4. And I rode her.
Did he?
Plunges in for the win. GG.
They brushed aside their adversaries without too much trouble.
Well played, you two.
The rite is complete.
All right, let's head on back. I think that was our penultimate right, so that means we can go Liberation right next, which means no requests for that one. We'll just leave it up to the players to take their preferred teams, and if you guys would like to share what your team archetype was for that one, you're welcome to do so. Or if you want to keep it mysterious, you also can. I also may or may not have just thought of a 12th thing to add to the list.
It certainly fits the composition. Maximum amount of orb control.
Yeah. It's death by 1,000 cuts, basically a bunch of quick, small scores for Camilo, and then possession for Iroder.
A worm would also be really nice for that. Well, you did have a worm, right?
Yeah, I was, when I thought of death by 1,000 cuts, worms is what I had in mind.
Worm's a bit of a waste.
But then Camilo asked about, can I take some more unconventional choices for my team, and then immediately took the sap. But you saw that he did a bunch of quick sap throws rather than the more typical long-range, high-damage sap throws.
I
So
think
that's
that's always the weakness about the nutrition stick sap, that you don't quite have a consistent way of scoring. They could also do Twilight Shard car. Or not Twilight Shard, how it's called again? The Celestial Spark Talisman. Shooting
Oh.
Star.
Yes. Yeah, Camilo
Yeah,
just
that would be
pestering
true
you.
if you didn't always give me the Savage back when you do that.
Well done, guys. Alright, now theoretically there are 144 potential combinations. I feel like I also had one other idea that came to mind as we were doing that, but then I forgot what it was. So there may be a 13th on the way at some point. If you guys have any other ideas for team archetypes, may or may not already be on the list, but feel free to message me or whatnot. I can add them to the list. But anyways, that was the newish idea that I had for that type of thing. But now it is time for us to head over to our Liberation Rite. So we'll go to the Fall of Solium, and we won't have any requests from chat for this one. We'll have instead players taking their preferred teams to finish things off in style, and mental warfare. right. Neutral state 1, because Nutrition Stick, that map is really good. Yeah, I mean, again, map can matter. The archetype that your opponent has can matter. So I think it's interesting in that way. I hope you guys like it, and it might be something we could bring back in the future in that case, but up to you guys. As for right now, though, let us begin the Liberation Rite. Camilo likes it. Awesome. Glad to hear.
Hear me, exiles. Welcome to the Fall of Solium. Each of you seeks to be free from this forsaken land. We soon shall see who is the most deserving. The Fate stand ready. The Withdrawn stand ready. The rite shall begin forthwith.
Alright, so as I said, this will be our final rite of the night, our liberation rite. So no requests from chat for this one. Just leaving it all up to the players. I may or may not have just remembered what that other one was that I was thinking about. That other archetype. One moment, I may be a little bit distracted for the next few seconds. What's a good word to describe it? Quick throwing Volfred. We saw Iroder go with a harp first. Now an Astral Eye Dalbert. A Speedy Pamitha. That's the last choice for Camilo. While Iroder goes Speedy Vizpaleth. So alright, here we go, our final rite of the night, our liberation rite. Camilo on the left representing the Fate, and Iroder on the right representing the Withdrawn. Best of luck to you both.
exchange. And there it is.
Cartoon.
And there it is.
Thanks for the
GG.
games.
There were.
Well played, you two.
Rather convincingly, I must admit.
Well, as we were saying,
Thus ends the liberation rite.
that was our final rite of the night. So thank you, everybody, for stopping by today. Those of you participating in the rites and those of you in chat making their requests as well. That being said, I will hop out of Discord, but I will catch you guys next time. Alright, let me just quickly free them from remote play while we're at it. Let's see. Where is Camilo? Let's see if I can do it from here. There we go. Alright, as I was saying, that was our final rite of the night, our liberation rite, so thank you to everybody who participated, both in the rites and in chat as well. This was, of course, Pyre Community Rite Night, and if you're interested in getting more involved in multiplayer Pyre, then look no further, because you can join said Discord group by clicking on... Oh, hold on. That's a caps lock is what that is. Let's not do that. There we go. There is the link to join the Rite Club. My name is Lids. I'm hosting these Rite Nights, and my streaming schedule is weeknights, doing a combination of The First Descendant and Path of Exile 2, at least subject to the new work schedule. Then Fridays, we're doing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, Saturdays, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and obviously Sundays, Pyre multiplayer. Technically speaking, that being said, there is a new Path of Exile event that is happening on Sunday, both this next Sunday and the Sunday after that, which would conflict with Rite Night, which I have some interest in doing. It is the one that it's like a repeat of the one that I did a little while back, a few months ago. So if I were to do that, then I would not be available for Rite Night, so may or may not look to do that, depending on to what extent we have other people who may be able to jump in and take my place, but that's a little preemptive at this stage, I suppose. Just wanted to give a little bit of heads up that that's theoretically a possibility. But anyways, if you haven't done so yet already, of course you can also hit the follow button to get notification when I go live. Also at Vids on Twitter, I post there when I go live as well. But actually the best place to stay up to date on all things Lids is my Discord, which you can join by clicking on, I almost did Rite Night again. No, it's a different Discord. It's this Discord, that one right there. But that's going to be it for me for tonight, so thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and I'll catch you next time. I also may or may not have written down several more archetypes during the liberation right there, and now there are a total of 15, which means there are 225 total matchup combinations that we could see, if that is still something that people are interested in doing in the future. So, who knows? We can potentially do more of that.